Hello, everybody. This is Barry Johnson. Welcome back to another edition of Studio Talk. Today, I'm going to talk about the things that I think you should consider if you're considering buying either a cloned microphone or maybe a mic modeling system. They both have their pros and cons and things that I think you should probably take a look at. Well, let's take a look at really who the players are in this market, and let's get going from there. On the mic modeling side of things, you have Antelope Audio has one, Townsend Lab has one, and Townsend Lab was recently purchased by Universal Audio. And then, of course, you've got Slate Audio that was really the first ones to start this whole concept of doing microphone modeling. On the clone market side of things, the two biggest ones out there, and there are others, but the two biggest out there are Warm Audio and Stam Audio. Those are two big companies that really do a lot of cloned hardware pieces, whether it be compressors, EQs, and the like, as well as microphones. Now, most project studios can really only afford really one decent microphone. And so I think there are things to consider when looking at that. If you look at the mic modeling system, what they're doing is they're taking and trying to digitally recreate some of the most famous microphones in history. Well, the cloned market is also trying to duplicate or recreate and make affordable some of the most famous microphones in history, but also do that in a singular microphone. Now, for sure, these microphones are aesthetically pleasing, they look great, and they also sound great, but I think there are some things that we all have to consider. So whether you're looking at either one of those systems, I think one very important thing that you really should realize is none of these systems, from my opinion, whether it's cloned or in the mic modeling system, give you that real experience, okay? The real experience. Let's take a U87 as an example, probably the most famous microphone. Let's take a U87, and you've got both Stam and Warm make clones of that. And of course, that microphone is in all of the mic modeling systems. And so I have found that they do a very good job of getting relatively close, but there's something magical. I mean, let's be honest. Most of the U87s used in major studios that became famous are ones that were made decades ago, right? The ones that are released today don't have that exact same mojo of the ones back then. Now, they're great. A modern Neumann U87 sounds fantastic. It's a great microphone, but it's also a very, very, very expensive microphone. So anybody who really actually thinks, regardless of the hype, what any of these companies try to tell you, that they're going to get you extremely close to that microphone, I'm sorry, that dog don't hunt. That is not going to happen. Can you get exceptional results with any of these clones or with the mic modeling system? I personally believe you can. I own a mic modeling system here in my studio. I was one of the first adopters of the Slate Digital, the ML1, and I use that microphone all the time, and I really like it. I also have other microphones here in the studio, but one of the things that a mic modeling system gives you that a clone does not, and that's why, in my opinion, you may be better off spending the extra money and buying a mic modeling system over a clone. It's worth the extra money because with the mic modeling systems, you get very, very, very close tonality-wise, a tremendous variety of microphones. Now, a lot of people who don't have experience with these things think that, a U87, as an example, is a universal microphone that's great on everything. No, it's not. It's not the go-to microphone on everything. Certainly vocals and things like that, it's superior, as well as other acoustic sources. It's a very, very, very good microphone. But there's a reason when you look at all these famous studios and they do the studio tour and you get to the microphone locker and that locker's huge and it's got tons of varieties of microphone, that's because there is no one size fits all. And so that's the thing that you need to consider. If you're just recording your voice and a select few instruments, then you can do well with a microphone clone system. But keep in mind, if you're recording other people, that microphone that sounds good on you very well may not sound good on somebody else. Another microphone may sound better. That's one of the things that's very compelling when it comes to the mic modeling systems versus the clones. Now, when you look at the aesthetics of it, there's no doubt about it. These clone manufacturers have made some really beautiful microphones, okay? And they're relatively built solidly, but keep in mind the manufacturing process is not the same as it is in higher end in the original microphones. It is just not. And so what they're trying to go for in the clone system is to try to duplicate as best they can, but still stay in that affordable price range, which means you can't do all of that and achieve it. You just can't. It's simple mathematics. There's a reason these other microphones cost as much as they do. It's not just the name that gets it there. That certainly is part of the equation to a degree. But the reality is those other, when you buy a real Neumann 87, that thing is built like a tank, can take decades of use and abuse. Whereas my experience with cloned anything, and I've got quite a bit of cloned hardware back there, it is not built to that degree. It simply is not. And so that is one thing to consider. So keep in mind the microphone clone systems, they're trying to get as close within the circuitry and the components used to get as close as they can and still keep that budget. Whereas your mic modeling systems are trying to make a solid microphone that is clean as humanly possible. Now, most of us don't think super clean when we think high-end microphone. We think character, we think vibe, things like that those microphones add to it, not necessarily super clean. But to be able to get that microphone modeled properly, it needs to start with as close to a pristine sound as you can, which is why quite a few of them actually have their own preamp that comes with it, so it ensures that it maintains that signal all the way through into your DAW. So then after the fact, you can add, let's call it a plug-in, the mic, and select a particular microphone that is good on your source, as well as the microphone preamp that you want to try, and get the character of all of that. Keep in mind that I don't care what the mic modeling system people tell you, the hype that they sell, I don't care what you read out there, you are not getting an exact replication. You're just not. I have done exhaustive tests on this in the past. Now, so that's something I think you probably should consider. But then again, is it realistic to expect them to be able to do that? In fairness, is it? Really? Are you going to get for less than $1,000 a microphone that sounds as good as a $4,000 microphone? That just doesn't make any common sense. It certainly doesn't to me. So I think forget the hype about these things. I mean, you can always buy one, try it for yourself. If it doesn't give you what you want, you can send it back. So keep that in mind. And so as much as I think the clone microphone systems, they make some really nice microphones and certainly very, very good microphones in their price range, I do think if you're comparing it against price range, forget the fact that it's a U87. I'll keep using that as an example, a clone or emulation. Forget that fact. What you have to do is say, if I'm spending $700, $800 on this cloned microphone, how does it compare tonality-wise to other microphones, whether they're trying to clone something or not? How does it compare to those in that comparison? That's the only way you can truly or should evaluate it, in my opinion. I think all of this kind of craziness trying to think that, hey, what I've got sounds exactly like that. Well, I'm sorry. You're telling yourself what you want to hear and you're buying into the hype. And so that has certainly not been my experience, and my ears certainly have not told me that. But like I said, there's a reason I have this thing. There's a reason. It sounds great. I really, really like it. I use it all the time. And with with a modeling system, you get the ability to try different microphones with different sources. And what that also does is enable you to really understand the character and the differences of these world famous microphones, because they don't all sound the same. And I think learning that through a modeling system is really important. If you think about it in the same way, you get the exact same thing with your plugins. Many or most plugins out there are emulating famous pieces of hardware out there, whether it's an 1176, an LA2A, a Neve EQ, a Neve microphone preamp. I could go on and on and on, and so they're out there trying to clone that stuff, and they're trying to get that character. So when you go into the mic modeling system, they're doing the same thing. They're trying to give you that character that as close as they can, considering what you're paying. I think it's super, super important to keep that in mind and have realistic expectations. If you're a project studio owner and you're blessed with a lot of money and you got things like that, and you can afford to own a collection of fully analog microphones, you probably could benefit from looking at that and considering that option. I would even argue I would rather have one really solid microphone, and it doesn't have to be a clone, and it doesn't have to be, the original. Like the Manley reference mic is probably the best single microphone out there, in my opinion, today, considering its price. It's simply outstanding, and it's its own microphone doing its own thing. And I think I would rather own one of those than 4 or 5 cloned microphones that equate to the same price of that microphone. That's my personal opinion, because the reality is most people in project studios, back to my original point, are not typically recording a ton of variety of things. Let's face it, most of you you're probably doing a lot of virtual instruments in the box, so you're primarily doing vocals, or you're doing acoustic sources like acoustic guitar or a guitar amp. Well, we all know on a guitar amp, a simple $100 SM57 is your best choice. Now, of course, you can add a ribbon microphone to that and really get a nice balance. But then again, SM57 will get you there all day and night with a single $100 microphone. Now, if you're recording acoustic guitar, a large diaphragm microphone, if you're using a single microphone, can do you well. And so you can really get tonality results, which is what I use that Slate on a lot when I do acoustic things and here in the studio. So let's really, since what I'm trying to say is I think you should probably lean towards a mic modeling system, let's talk about the players out there. Again, Slate was the first to come out with it, and they have done, in my opinion, a very, very good job. I think a very good job. But let's also face it, Steven Slate is a master marketing genius. The guy knows how to sell his products because he comes from our world, and let's just face it, he's got a talent for it. But understand, okay, just like most YouTubers you watch out there are glorified salesmen for products, you'll never see that on this channel, even though I'm making recommendations for a particular direction, not a particular one necessarily. But, you've kind of got that. And so keep that in mind. Again, avoid the hype. Avoid, a lot of people will buy these things that don't have experience with other things, and we'll talk about it all day and night on forums or online and social media and things like that. Well, human nature is people like to believe that what they've done is better than what anybody else has done, and they have the best. And so kind of listen to that feedback with some scrutiny is what I would say. And I would argue that you're kind of doing the same thing by watching me. So scrutinize me all day long. I would fully expect that and would be disappointed if you didn't, quite frankly. Again, I started by saying the things that I think that you should consider, not the things that you must consider. Big difference in the opening of that, right? A totally different message. And so let's talk about the mic modeling system out there. You have Slate Digital, the first to come out with it, has done an exceptional job, a very good job. Then you've got Townsend Labs, as well as Antelope Audio. Now, the Antelope Audio, there's not anywhere near as much buzz about that one as there is a Slate, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't used that one. But there is a tremendous amount of buzz out there. Again, take that for what it's worth. about the Townsend Labs one, and I did get a chance about a year ago to use one. A buddy of mine has one in his studio, and we spent an entire weekend with it, and I brought my Slate over there and compared it with that. And in my opinion today, now keep in mind this stuff changes, it evolves. So if you happen to watch this video 3 years from today, which this is November in 2022, this topic may or may not be as relevant at that particular point. So in my opinion, of the ones out there, if I were starting over right now, I would go with the Townsend Lab. Now, recently, Universal Audio had a pretty compelling promo back in October. It only lasted for the month while supplies last, where there should be something read into while supplies last. I'm sure you probably already figured out where I'm going with that. And if you haven't, well, stay tuned. You probably should have. So learn something. And then who says I'm right? We'll find out. But while supplies last, so if you bought an Apollo, you got a Townsend Lab microphone. Now that is a compelling system right there. I'm going to tell you, that's compelling as all get out, right? And so to me, I think we're right around the corner from seeing the next evolution of the Townsend Labs. One, I think the Townsend Labs name is probably going to go away, and it's going to be rebranded as Universal Audio. It's what I would expect, and honestly, it's what I'd do if I bought them. I would rebrand it. But I think, Universal Audio's got the reputation they have, and I don't think they're going to make the mistake of just stamping a new name on it. Like my brothers out there that are not my brothers over at Avid, they'll make a transition, put a new faceplate on it, make it seem like it's something brand new, and it's a same freaking thing. But I don't think Universal Audio, I really don't see them doing it. I think they're going to combine with their knowledge of being able to create some outstanding plugins digitally, and they're going to take the technology, since they now own Townsend Labs, what they've learned, combine those together, and really take that to the next level. So I'm anticipating a new microphone modeling system from Universal Audio right around the corner. My prediction is that's going to be released in winter NAMM. And so I think that's right around the corner, because while supplies last usually means they're burning out old stock. So let's kind of get it off the shelves, because we're coming out with something new. I've got a video that'll be coming out pretty soon about what I think they're going to be doing with the next generation of the Apollo, which I also think is right around the corner. So if I were doing it today, I would go with the Townsend Lab, but make no bones about it. You're spending quite a bit more with that microphone. Even if you buy a Townsend Labs one today, it's still, in my opinion, slightly, not big, slightly better than its competition. The only downside to it is you have to use two inputs when you're doing that. So if that's an issue with limited I/O within your interface, you should probably consider that. But can you go wrong with any of these? And I mean any of them, whether it's a mic modeling system or a cloned. I don't think so. In my opinion, no. I think for what you pay for any of these systems, I think you're getting a great microphone for the price. And so I don't think you can go wrong. And really the only advantage that I see to the mic modeling over the clone is the fact that you get a variety. But that may or may not be compelling to you. That may not be, right? If I was just recording my voice here, and primarily that's what I do, if I was just recording that, maybe I would go with one of these clones, because they weren't out when I bought the Slate as an example. But I happen to record other people, so I need and want a variety. But I also don't do it enough to justify buying $4,000 microphones and certainly having a variety of them. That's not in my, and even if it was, I don't think it's practical for what I'm doing. I'm doing this at home for me, and I help others do it too. So kind of keep all that in mind. So if you like the things I talk about on this channel, do me a favor, hit that like, that subscribe, and that notification button, bing, bell, whatever the crap it's called. Hit that, and I'll see you next time. Until then, have a great day. Bye-bye. This is sucking, man. I'm having problem after problem today. My phone, I can't even talk about anything this morning. For the record, I got up at 3 o'clock this morning because I couldn't sleep, and I've been trying to make videos since then. And I normally don't get up until like 7, so hey, I'm struggling this morning. Leave me alone, okay? I am brain farting like crazy right now. This is the problem when you don't use a teleprompter like most people do. Antelope Audio has one, as well. Okay, I gotta get this. I'm gonna get it. I know I'm gonna get it. All right, let's go. I'm not getting it done. I suck today. Okay, anyway.